How do I stop being so afraid of my wife? Welcome to the Therapy Brothers podcast.
I'm Brannon.
I'm Tyler.
We're brothers,
We're therapists.
and we know recovery.
Bring your stories, your questions, your successes with real recovery.
Hey, Tyler, you ready to have some hard conversations?
Let's do it.
Let the Therapy Brothers podcast begin. Tyler, how's it going?
Good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well. Summer's moving along here.
I can't believe we're like halfway through the summer at the time we're recording this. It's gone so fast.
Yeah, your annual Wind Rivers trip's coming up, isn't it?
Yeah, we're about a week out from that. That's basically like one of the things that I look most forward to every single year.
Yeah, just don't get a ticket. Learn the laws before you go. It might help you.
Just remember to read that one little extra line there. I thought I had already read, so that's all right. Like I said, it took me about 5 years before I got the ticket, so that made firewood.
Don't take a chainsaw into a national forest.
Well, it's not the national forest; it's wilderness area.
Oh, don't take a chainsaw into the Wind Rivers. Yeah.
Exactly. So it was like $100 a year for firewood.
Yeah. Well, we just lost a bunch of listeners who think you're a total,
oh man,
whatever for taking chainsaws into the forest.
I told the ranger that last year. I told the ranger, he was like, you're the nicest person I've ever given a ticket to. And I said, well, I've obviously done something wrong. I'm sorry, I didn't read the law the right way. So my bad. I deserve it, And I said, but before you give me the ticket, you want me to go back up on that trail that you guys haven't cleared? It's got about 100 down trees on it. I could do it for you real quick. He just started. He started laughing because he's like, no, we have to use a crosscut saw.
So you were really nice and really passive aggressive at the same time.
I was like, well, if you guys, because he's like, man, we have to do everything without motorized stuff ourselves. We have to use crosscut saws and it's miserable. And I was like, well, if I'm going to get a ticket anyway, I'm happy to go do that for you. So,
yeah. Well, anyway. I hope you're safe when you go and things go well. So
thanks, man. Well, let's get rolling today. We got Jake on with us. Jake is, I have a little bit of history with Jake, so he's not a stranger. So Jake, it's good to see you. Jake, why don't you just kind of introduce yourself a little, tell whatever backstory you feel comfortable with, and then ask your question.
Okay, so I've dealt with pornography addiction, masturbation for, since puberty, really. And it got progressively worse over the years. Got married, went on a mission, got married. Had several discoveries, but downplayed it. And then back in 2017, another discovery was made. Tried to do the same thing, but just got to the point in my life where it was weighing on my mind. And then I told my wife a little bit more, but then it went on for a couple months. And this was like, so the initial discovery was like September that year and went on to like December that I had shoulder angels, fighting it out, saying, tell her everything, now's the time. The other one says, don't tell her everything, you lose everything. Well, December came around, we went on a trip and she said, what's wrong with you? Something's wrong. Tell me what's going on, and I finally just told her everything, how long I'd been dealing with things. Even then it wasn't everything. There'd been a little bit of trickle out stuff since then. So what I'm dealing with now, so that was almost 6 years ago. What I'm dealing with now, pornography, seeking it out hasn't been a problem. Masturbation hasn't been a problem since the day of discovery. But now it's I guess I should include this. It got to a point in recovery where I deal with anxiety, a lot of consuming my wife for getting my value, and last September, there was an incident where I had looked. She'd caught me taking a second look at someone I was driving past with. She was coming in traffic the opposite direction, called me and said, what are you looking at? What were you looking at? And I lied and said all this stuff. Well, a couple of days later, that ate at me.
Wait, so you were driving one direction looking at someone. She was driving the other direction looking at where you were looking. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And so, a couple of days later, it ate at me, and I told her that I'd lied and I need to be honest, and led to pretty bad discussion. I was in a bad spot that night, and I'm on a anxiety medication. I just took whatever was left of in my bottle and hope I wasn't going to wake up the next morning. And
Wow.
so yeah, that's caused a lot of trauma in my family, and then for me, ever since then, like being out in public with my wife has been hard, just because I feel like there's hypervigilance. Like when I'm when I'm by myself, I can see like attractive woman in short shorts, tank top, whatever, and I can work through it, and be okay. But like when I'm with my wife, like I'm just like a freaking raw nerve, and like I can't be. I don't feel like I'm present. I feel like I'm in a heightened state but everything, like my response is slowed down, and it's just I've been trying to work through that for several months now, and it's not seemed to be getting any better.
Hmm.
Jake, when you say what's the difference? Like if you were to kind of go a little bit more in detail with the difference between being on your own in public and being with your wife in public, what's the difference in terms of not just the feelings in your body, but the thought processes? What goes through your mind?
So like if I saw someone, I was on my own, I saw someone, I was like, I can say, I noticed that person. She's beautiful. I noticed there's features about her that are beautiful. I'm moving on, and take that time as like, I don't, review my values. I'm not going to objectify her. I'm not going to think about that later on. Whereas with my wife, like it's like an immediate anxious reaction, like a shame wash comes over me. You feel that in my stomach and my chest. I'm immediately thinking, what is my wife thinking? What is and it's harder to process. I'm worried about like my eyes are going to be pointed the wrong direction, or like yeah, because I mean, I think a lot of it's because it's a problem because I have done it before, and so like that it's a fear of not being able to be in control, I guess.
You're afraid of not being in control when you're with your wife, but you feel like you're in control when you're not.
Yes.
And what's the fear? Like obviously you've hurt your wife before, so that's part of it. You don't want to hurt her anymore. But
Exactly.
what is the biggest worry there, that when you're with her, if she sees your eyes glance the wrong way, or if like what's the story in your head?
Man, I guess not being one of my biggest problems, I think, is not being able to prove what I'm saying is true. I've lied so much that not being able to prove that like my intentions were good. Not being able to prove like she's just gonna think I'm looking at a person and consuming them and objectifying them, I guess, is my and Yeah, I guess that's
I try to hold back here. Uh, um, because well, let me ask you this. Well, I got two questions. How much do you guys have kids?
we do. We have 5 kids.
You have 5 kids.
Mhm.
Okay. And I'm not saying this to drive anything home of making you feel bad, but you have 5 kids, and this issue is getting to the point where you're taking extra pills hoping that you're going to die. So my second question for you, Jake, is just what was your relationship like with mom and dad, your childhood growing up?
Um, it was good. Um, for the most part, my mom was very. She kept us close. She had a lot of trauma in her her childhood and her past. She kept her kids close. Didn't let us do a lot. Very. Trying to think of the diagram. Very.
What number were you?
I'd have to look at it, but
No, what number in order
oh,
of the
what it
kids?
was not line. I'm the third. I'm the third of 7.
3rd of 7, and she was really close to enmeshed, you would say?
Yeah, in mesh. She like
Okay.
we didn't have a lot of sleepovers. We didn't have like a lot of friends. Couldn't have friends over. Couldn't go to friends' house a
Kind of
whole lot.
isolated within that family.
Yeah,
Yes.
like
Structured or
have us at
rigid?
home. Yeah, rigid. Yeah. So
3rd of 7. Okay.
yeah, and she was not to rag on my mom. I think she was emotionally manipulative in a lot of ways. I picked up. I don't think she realized. I don't know how much she realized she was, but um, I picked up a lot of those tendencies. And then my father was very. My father is very acquiescing. I guess what's the
Mm.
word I'm looking for.
Basically, mom
Compliant.
dominated.
Yeah,
Mom dominated. Yeah.
and he catered to, because she'd go. He did to keep her happy. He'd comply or
Yeah.
and so I think I picked up a lot of that and both from both ways. I have great parents. I'm not trying to make it sound like I don't, but
Sure.
there's definitely um things.
But what was modeled to you was happy wife, happy life.
Uh-huh.
She runs the show. You better keep her happy, right?
Yeah.
Um, and if she's not, then all hell breaks loose. Like it's not okay,
Uh-huh.
right? That's kind of okay.
Yeah.
Um,
And Jake, this isn't to we're not trying to pick on your parents. We're just trying to understand how you might have developed the beliefs that you're carrying with you that are actually having an effect in your current life, right? We're not on a witch hunt to tear apart your mom and dad, but listen to what you just said.
Yeah.
You just told us I've got a problem with trying to manage my wife's feelings because if she's upset, that means I'm not okay. And then Brannon asked you the question and you said, I was raised by a mom that was so protective of us and we had to manage her feelings so much.
and
And then I
emotionally
watched it,
manipulative.
and she was manipulative. And then I had a dad who didn't know how to stand up for himself. And he's a great man. So I just thought a good man is one
Weak.
who just acquiesces all the time. And so it kind of, I mean, what you just described kind of makes sense that there's some belief systems that are tied to the very problem that you're experiencing in your marriage. And I would bet that if we asked your wife, she would actually say that what she's looking for from you partially is probably some strength.
No question.
Yeah.
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 Absolutely.
The rules of the game that you're playing, Jake, are completely off. They're completely broken, and it's leading to certain outcomes in your life. And the reason why I'm asking about your childhood is because I want to know how this game was developed. And it's pretty clear. I mean, just in a little bit, you gave me just a little sliver of your childhood there. You can see how this game was developed. And so now you keep playing the game and you're still in the thick of it. I can tell you're still right there, like doing the song and dance, trying to play the game. And how you try to win the game actually perpetuates the very game that you're playing. And so there's no way, it's a trap. There's no way to get out. And the more you try, the more weak you show up, the more codependent you are with your wife, the more unsafe she feels. But you try harder, the same game to help her feel safe, which makes her feel unsafe. And it goes on and on and on, right?
Yeah, right.
And so the game's got to change. And the rules need to change a little bit. There's some broken, is broken the right word? There's some beliefs. You have a belief system that you're operating under that is problematic. And it's going to be uncomfortable to really challenge some of those beliefs, because from a young age, unconsciously, it was installed in you. You were programmed to have those beliefs. So to shift out of those beliefs and operate opposite of what those beliefs say is going to be very uncomfortable, but it's your way out of this game. Okay. Tyler, anything you want to add?
Yeah, I'd maybe like to just identify a couple of the specific beliefs, because I like what you're saying, Brannon, that Jake's a good guy. He's trying his best to do things the right way, but the right way has been installed in him without being able to actually pull out some of the beliefs and ask, is that the right way?
Yeah, Tyler, I hate when good guys like Jake end up suicidal.
Yeah.
Right. Jake is a good guy. Yeah. You can feel that automatically as we talk to him. Right.
Yeah.
But this is not okay. The way this is going down right now is not okay. Right. So, yeah,
right.
I like what you're saying, Tyler.
But the compulsion towards, like, a guy will normally come on and ask us this question, or they'll come to treatment and ask us this question, expecting us to be like, dude, you got to double down, make sure that your wife is always totally happy with you, make sure that you perform even harder. Like, you got a 3-second rule, the heck out of
only
yourself.
get an erection when you are having sex with her, and that's how you keep her happy.
Yeah, and that's not where we're going with Jake. We're going, okay, let's identify the rules of the game, as you said, or let's identify some of the core beliefs that maybe you want to keep, maybe you don't want to keep, but you need to identify what those are, and then you need to access some compassion for how they were formed. And then you have to decide which ones you want to let go of, and then go to work on identifying and letting go of those and acting differently.
But Tyler, here's the catch-22. We identify the game. We look at acting differently. His wife's playing this game with him. So if he starts playing a different game, all of a sudden, it's gonna create that.
It'll be messy.
Yeah, things are gonna go nuclear, because here Jake is already tasked with, I'm supposed to play the game that we play, and she plays this game, so I'm gonna go back to that because that's what I'm used to doing, right?
Even though she'll say she doesn't want to play the game anymore.
Yeah, but she'll be extremely uncomfortable if
there's going to be a certain level of the habit of the dance that's just been formed that's going to be uncomfortable for all parties when you guys decide to actually start trying to break this a little bit. And so giving each other grace a little bit and understanding what you're actually trying to do, I think, is also an important piece of this. Like, if Jake decides that he wants to adopt a new belief that I don't even care what my wife thinks anymore, well, okay, well, maybe that's a belief that's worth, at least it's a different belief. That's probably not going to lead him down a great road either.
Right.
But if he shows up tomorrow and he's like, turns into Mr. Toxic Masculinity and is like, why, if I do whatever I want, okay, that's going to stir waves in the system.
Pendulum swing will be another game that doesn't work. Yeah.
We don't want to swing all the way to the other end of the pendulum, right? But even a half swing down to like the middle somewhere is still going to feel like that to the system.
Yes.
Right. So if I go home and I decide, let's just pick a belief that says, in order to be a good man, my wife always has to be happy with me. That's a belief. And then Jake goes, you know what? That's one of the rules of the game that is just killing me. I need to change that. Like, what would be a different belief that I want to believe that might be more true than that one that I've been operating by my whole life?
Well, not sure how to express it, but somebody said on the Marco Polo chat in my group the other day, someone said this is like, just because my wife is upset with me doesn't mean I did anything wrong. I'm like, that
Okay.
hit me, that hit me.
Okay,
Like,
let's change that just a little bit there, Jake.
uh,
My wife is entitled to her own feelings
uh,
regardless of what I do.
yeah,
Do you see the
Okay.
codependency there?
yeah,
Yeah. You're over attached to her. She's God. But
yeah,
she's not God, right?
So maybe we come up with a new belief to experiment with that says I'm going to allow my wife room to have her own feelings without it defining me.
yeah,
Okay. So now I step into the game and we're out in public somewhere and somebody walks by dressed in something that catches your eye. You start to go and to doing your work. You see out of the corner of your eye that your wife is like staring at you as you see this woman, and then she's staring at the woman and she's getting all heightened. What would be the response that you might give in that moment that's in line with my wife's allowed to have her own feelings without it defining me?
God, it's so,
You don't rescue, you don't fix it.
yeah, yeah,
You might even see that she's got some heightening going on. Maybe she sets her jaw and she looks at you with that like look like, oh my gosh, are you serious right now? Like, whatever. Okay. That's going on. The new belief is my wife is entitled to have her own feelings without it defining who I am.
mhm. Um, I don't know. Did you see that? I don't, I'm not sure. I'm not. It's so foreign to me to have a healthy response, because usually it's just, man, like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what a good response.
What do you typically do in the old belief?
Um, just
Actually, Tyler, can I back up just a little bit?
Yeah, go ahead.
What do you feel? So in that moment when she clenches her jaw or gives you that look or whatever, what emotion starts coming up inside of you?
what's that sinking feeling, that anxiety and just uh pit in my stomach and the shoulder
Okay.
tight, my
And
ears
so
start ringing.
so when you feel that, I imagine you've become hyper focused on two things. One, yourself, making sure that you're being a good boy,
Uh-huh.
and two, her, making sure that she's not going to freak out because you want to show her that you're a good boy, right?
Right.
So okay, so back to Tyler's question. If we come back to the belief of my wife is entitled to her own feelings and it doesn't define me, then and this is so much easier said than done, by the way.
Mhm.
um then when she gets that look and you actually believe that, if you don't have those feelings of fear and anxiety that sends you into fix it mode, right? So what are other possibilities of things that you could do then?
Maybe acknowledge that I saw, something that could possibly be triggering, or I noticed someone who is dressed a certain way. Um,
I like the word you just used, Jake.
uh
Acknowledge. Go one step further. Instead of acknowledging that I saw something, why don't you acknowledge that your wife has feelings?
mhm.
And that's okay that she's having a hard time,
Yeah,
right? Because what Brannon's saying is that the autopilot in the old belief system is probably doing one of two things. It's either like ignore it, like, uh-oh, I hope she didn't see, like, like what woman, like I didn't see anything, like, it's either that or it's like, oh my gosh, let me hurry and manage your feelings, like don't be mad at me, don't let me piece it together, like whatever I need to do to make sure. What if you would actually just stay steady in that moment and actually let it be about the fact that she's got feelings and just acknowledge that she's got some feelings?
yeah, yeah. And I haven't been very good about that. Like, I haven't. It's always, like you said, it's always been about me and like trying to manage the outcome rather than acknowledging that she
This is hard.
feelings about it. Yeah, that's hard, and that she would have feelings about it. Like, yeah.
There's a you know, we're talking about what to do in the moment, and it's kind of like, what's a comparison? It's almost like telling an infant to walk that doesn't know how to walk. Like, hey, start walking. It helps you go from here to there. Like, come on. And the fact of the matter is you can go try to do this stuff, Jake, and what will happen is terror, like sheer terror. The answer to the question, you know, as a young child, you learned things about you, that I'm only good enough when I please the feminine.
Mm-hmm.
That I consume women for my self-worth, and that my sexuality is sinful and shameful and bad.
Mm-hmm.
And until you go in and you actually root those out and really practice some self-compassion, self-acceptance, and have some experiences that counteract what you've been taught your whole life, it's going to be extremely hard. Your wife is a walking trigger to your anxiety. I mean, yeah, to drive down the road and she drives past you the other direction and she's looking at your eyes, like, she's in a lot in the fear cycle and in her own anxiety a lot. And the focus is, and the problem is your lust.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying your lust isn't an issue, but it's not the issue. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And she will never do her own work until you have some boundaries with her.
Yeah.
You are enabling her not to do her work, because you're showing up as, I'm the weak one that needs to fix all the problems.
That's
Right.
That's one of the problems is that it's hard to actually love somebody when you're there always having to get that love or consume them or take from them. And that's what you're saying, Brannon. And maybe one of the most loving things that Jake could do for his wife is learn how to, and I like what you said, because this is important. He needs to identify the belief. He needs to meet that part of himself that developed it with self-compassion, self-acceptance. Then he needs to have experiences with a new belief that, hey, maybe I'm lovable as I am. Maybe, and this is probably what you're getting, Jake, in some of the things you're doing with your treatment or your group therapy, or, you know, I know you're on your way to the Rising Sun retreat here. You're going to have those kinds of experiences where in your brokenness, you're still going to be loved. And that's going to start to fracture that belief. That's all your individual work. And as you do that individual work, then in those moments that we're talking about, you practice stepping into that space and saying, hey, babe, I see that you're having a hard time right now. I know that this is hard. Yeah, there's definitely some triggering stuff going on right now. I see you, you know, but now you're showing up in strength, practicing something new, and it probably won't go very well in terms of the old belief system.
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be that, like, oh, but that's the practice. That's the rinse and repeat over and over again to develop a new dance step with your partner, so to speak. Like, right. You know, and I think your wife wants to dance. She just doesn't want to do this dance.
Yeah.
Like, she wants to go swing dance. She doesn't want to tango, you know?
But let's think about it for a second. Like, let's say, Jake and Tyler, I want to ask you both. Let's say I'm walking down the street and my wife's looking at my eyes and she's like, you just looked at her. You just looked at her for too long. Like, and my response is, well, I mean, yeah, maybe I did, or I don't think I did. I don't know. Like, I could have, I don't know. Maybe I broke the 3-second rule. Maybe I didn't. Right. Am I creating safety?
No, not at all.
Okay. So maybe I was attracted to her. Maybe I wasn't. Maybe I lusted. Maybe I didn't. So how do I create safety in that moment? So this is like practicing what Tyler was just talking about. How do I create safety in that moment?
Brannon, let me give an example, and I want you to break down where I went wrong and where I went right. Okay.
Okay.
I was in Miami with my wife just a few months ago, we went to this like science museum. It was just like had different layers. On the very top, it was this open layer with like kind of an aquarium with fish and stuff there in Miami. But right off the roof in the building right next door, the entire building was an image of J-Lo in lingerie.
Okay.
Like it was an advertisement for lingerie.
Okay.
We're standing up on the roof. We happen to be looking out at the next building over. There's J-Lo in all of her glory on across a whole building. And my wife goes, Tyler, you find that attractive? And I was like, actually, I do.
Yeah.
You know, I said there's a reason why J-Lo is 20 stories by 100 feet right now.
Right.
And they're selling lingerie. And so they went and found an attractive woman and put her in lingerie, and they're going to sell some lingerie. And
Right.
I said, as a 14-year-old boy, I would have managed it a lot differently than I'm going to manage it now. So I'm not going to sit there and ogle her. But yes, I noticed her. Yes, she's attractive. It doesn't really do for me what it might have done for me as a 14-year-old boy. And that's kind of where I stand right now.
Yeah, I like it. So if we're really to break this down, and Jake, as I answer this, it's going to go against all of your all of the rules of the game here. I really like what you did, Tyler, in terms of being honest. Yeah, she's attractive. Now I don't like what you did in terms of the caretaking part of it. I'm going to go manage it. I'm going to take care of it. I'm going to, like, to me, that's showing weakness back to your wife. And what I would have done different is, yeah, I'm attracted to that. You know, and I would have turned to her and said, hey, you know, how does that make you feel? You know, are you noticing her? Are you comparing yourself with her? Like, where are you at? I want to know where you're at. So rather than explaining that I'm safe and I'm strong, just show up safe and strong. Yeah, I'm attracted to her. I know that I'm okay. I know I'm not going to go masturbate in the corner at this aquarium. That would not be a good thing. She can feel that from you. She can sense that from you without you being like, no, I'm a good boy. I'm a good boy. Right?
Yeah.
There's triggers everywhere in the world, everywhere. And if you have to explain yourself out of every single one of them because your wife is triggered, she's not going to feel safe with you. She knows she can trust you. How does my wife know that I'm not lusting and masturbating and acting out with women right now?
Pattern of behavior, I think, just
Way of being.
She knows me.
Way of being.
You could call her right now and she would say that's absolutely not happening. Mm-hmm. And I don't need to go home and say, hey, honey, this is what I did. I talked to Tyler and Jake and I did this and I did that. And trust me, I didn't do that. If I went home and did that, I would look like and feel like I was doing that because I'd feel so weak. Right. So I love that example, Tyler. The honesty is the most important thing, but the strength backed up by the honesty. Now, if you're like, yeah, I'm attracted to her. And then your energy was like, and I don't care about your freaking feelings, woman, because like, get over yourself. Like, why are you asking me this? If she senses that from you, that's still weakness from you. Right? So yes, I'll answer your question. I care about your feelings, but I'm not going to play that game with you of fear and that fear cycle with you. I'm just going to be okay within myself. Right. Does that make sense? Jake, does that make sense?
No, absolutely. Absolutely it does.
The only thing I would come back on with what you said, Brannon, and I think you kind of alluded to it, is that it's still okay to be sensitive to noticing whatever your partner's feelings are. And in this case, in our example, my wife wasn't even actually triggered. She was more just like having a discussion. It was like, I didn't feel like a big, like, like we're going to be in trouble. And we're gonna have this. It was like, she's like, do you find that attractive? And like,
it was just a sincere question.
Yeah.
Because like, there's this giant picture, right?
Yeah. And I think she's thinking like, do you think 14-year-old boys find that attractive? I said, absolutely.
Yes.
Like
there's a reason that's up.
Of course, that's the world we live in. Right. And, but I think that the other side to that's still available to show up in your strength with is when it's not about always just me being on the spot to manage her feelings, I can also turn around, and your question, Brandon, was good, or maybe even an acknowledgement if she was triggered of, I see you. Like, I want to know what your feelings are. I can hold the space for you to have those feelings and even be able to say some things if you want to. Like, I know who I am. I know the work that I'm already doing.
But Tyler, you're not holding that space if you're caretaking. So like if you're there trying to fix it, trying to show her that you're a good boy, you're caring more about you than actually opening up that space to process with her.
Yes,
right?
but there is some room for some acknowledgement of her feelings, and maybe even some like empathy for what she's feeling.
Acknowledging her feelings is not saying I'm handling it and I'm a good boy and I'm okay. That is not acknowledging
that's
her
about
feelings.
you.
That's about you.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you're actually disconnecting from her in that moment. And she can feel that, like that masculine, that healthy masculine energy going away. And she's thinking, oh, thanks for telling me what a good boy you are. You're full of shit. like yeah, thanks, I feel so safe right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
That feels familiar.
And another way of saying that, Brannon, is that then if you're on the beach and you're then having to walk around staring at the sand all day, that also doesn't actually make her feel safe.
no, because you're just compliant. You're just I am so weak and I'm not safe.
There's another piece to this, though, then, that a man in recovery needs to actually do a couple of things, which is a lot easier for me to say, much more of a process. He has to, number one, begin to uncover and know who he is. And then he has to also develop tools and strategies for operating congruently with who he is as the man he wants to be.
Yes.
So that his way of being on the beach or at the science museum is the feeling that's coming through. So now I can sit on the beach and I don't have to look at the sand, but I'm also not like over there, like totally disconnecting from my wife or my kids because my addiction is raging. Right.
Yeah, of course.
I know who I am. I'm
Yep.
here to be on the beach, to experience what the beach offers with my wife and have a shared experience with her. Right.
Or this, you can call it the beach. You can call it this world. Right. I'm here in this world and there is sexuality, there's triggers, there's things. I can handle it. I can manage it. And I know I can manage it. And
I'll be responsible with it.
And my wife isn't the one that comes along and says, hey, you're good job. You're managing it. Gold star, you win.
That's what you're trying to break.
She has nothing to do with it.
She doesn't even want that job, even though that's part of what she gets sucked into when she's scared.
Exactly.
She doesn't want to be the judge of like whether or not you're in recovery. She just naturally does that when she's afraid because
her
she's
anxiety, her fear
safety.
will come in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. It's that, Jake, I don't know if you've heard the old story of the couple that lived in the small town and the Facebook story. I've told it several times.
I might have, but I can't think of it all.
She was pulling up Facebook and pulling up all the girls in the small town, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was telling him, be honest with her. Be honest with her. So he's like, yeah, she's attractive. She's attractive. And you know, it just triggered everything. And so then he tried like, no, I'm not attracted to her, not attracted to her. That didn't work either. And I said, just be honest with her, like show up in some strength. And what that looks like was like, look, pulling up Facebook and asking if girls are attractive in our town, like that doesn't work for me. And, you know, Tyler, one of the faulty beliefs that we talked about earlier, I believe this, Jake, you will not build trust in your relationship unless you're willing to let your wife down. You will not build trust in your relationship unless you're willing to have her be uncomfortable. And when you are willing to have her, when you're strong enough to allow your wife to be uncomfortable, then she can actually trust you. It sounds backwards, doesn't it?
No. Yeah.
Sounds backwards.
It kind of goes to this old quote that we had drilled into us as kids. It came from one of our church leaders growing up that said, it's more important to be trusted than to be loved. And what that I think is saying is I'm congruent enough with who I am, open enough with who I'm in the process of becoming, that it's okay that certain people aren't going to like me, but they'll trust me because they get something consistent out of me and they know who I am. Right. Whereas if I'm scrambling around always trying to be loved, then I can't be trusted because I'm a chameleon. I'm always shape shifting and no one really has a solid place to step onto in the relationship.
Yep. Jake, you were trained to be an untrustworthy spouse. And I feel for your mom, and this is why, because she had, and I'm not saying this to rip on your dad, but she had a dishonest partner. I know that sounds harsh. Like, he's Mr. Nice Guy. He's a good guy.
Mm-hmm.
But she didn't feel safe in that relationship, I would guess, because she some strength was lacking there.
There was never any structure to push against.
Right. And to you, you saw that and you thought, that's what a man is. That's what you do. Now, if we were to dig into your dad's trauma, there's a reason why he was showing up weak. He's not bad. There's some good reasons why he is who he is. Right.
Mm-hmm.
But as his son, you're going to pass this down to your sons unless you do the hard work to actually change these patterns. And that hard work is learning how to have some boundaries with your wife.
Yeah.
You know, if I were driving down the street and my wife called me and was like, hey, I just passed you and I was watching your eyes, I probably wouldn't say very nice things. That sounds harsh. I'd be like, what are you talking about? Like, right? Like, but the right thing for me to say is like, whoa, for you to like drive past me and be looking at my eyes, like, tell me where you're at. Well, did you look at her? Did you look at her? And I'd back up and say, you know what?
Like,
you're feeling. Tell me what you're feeling. Like, you're feeling triggered right now. Talk to me.
Scared, whatever.
Yeah. Tell me, because obviously something's off here. Right. I before we go, Jake, I want to role play with you a little bit. Can we do that?
Absolutely.
I haven't done this on the podcast much, but Tyler, do you want in on this?
We always love role plays, right? Even the therapist doesn't want to do it, but it's like one of the most effective tools there is.
Tyler, do you want in, or do you want me to?
Whatever, you put me in wherever you want me. I'll do whatever.
All right, you're the other hot woman. Okay.
All right.
I'm the wife, and Jake, you're Jake. Okay.
I don't have a lot of play here.
I know you don't. Sorry.
Okay, go ahead.
So, okay, you're the other hot woman, and you know you're at the bank, and you're the teller, and Jake needs to withdraw some cash. Okay.
Okay.
And you're just a little flirty. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm there with you. I'm your wife, and I'm just standing next to you, but I am noticing how hot Tyree over there is. Okay.
Okay.
So,
so want me to start?
Yeah, let's do it.
Well, Mr. Jake, I'm so glad you came into the bank today. Man, I hope your wife knows how lucky you are.
Thank you. I'd like to withdraw my full account.
Well, why would you want to do that? You know, you've been such a patron. I love seeing you come in when you come in every single week. I can't wait. You know, I look forward to seeing you when you come in every week. Okay, I'm out of the picture now. It's up to you.
Okay. We're walked out of the bank. You seem to really like the teller, Jake.
She was nice.
Yeah, were you she was kind of flirty with you.
I recognize she was kind of flirty.
Yeah, she was. Oh, you were. Did you like that?
To be honest, it was a little flattering.
Oh, okay. Here we go again. Like, were you lusting after her?
I wasn't. I was with you. I was listening.
It didn't feel that way. It feel like you really enjoyed that a lot.
I think it's flattering when someone flirts with you, but I felt like I was just being respectful.
You're flattered by that. Yeah. That I don't know how long I can deal with this. Like, I can't be with a husband who's flattered to connect with other women. unbelievable. You know what? Like, let's not talk about it. Like,
Well,
I
I
just,
want to understand your feelings. I want to.
no, you want to flirt with Tyree is what you want to do. That's what you want to do.
No, I don't want to flirt with Tyree. I want to be with you. I want to talk with you and understand your feelings because you're who I care about.
Right now, I'm just hurt.
I'm sorry you're hurt. I'm sorry that I'm sorry that you feel that way. If there's
So, okay, let's stop. Let's pause for a second. Jake, you're doing a pretty good job. But in that moment, you're saying, I want to understand your feelings. Don't fix it yet. And you're going into, I'm sorry. And this is where your strength shows up.
Mhm.
Dig in to those feelings. Tell me about your hurt. What's that like for you? How does that feel to you? Validate her hurt. Now, you don't have to agree. You don't have to say, yeah, that's exactly what happened. You're describing everything that just happened. You don't have to agree to validate her. I'd feel scared too if I walked in and I felt like, someone was flirting with you. I can see why you'd feel that way.
Yeah,
That makes sense to me. Yeah. Tell me more. Tell like, when I'm honest with you about liking that it's flattering, like, what's that like for you? Tell me more. Now, you're not trying to patronize her or anything like that. Your heart legitimately has to be wanting to step in with her. Right?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
my tendency is just yeah, that goes against everything like I've taught myself because my tendency is just get past it as soon as
To
possible.
run, fix it,
Even-
run.
Even in the role play here, for those who you can't see the video, it's just a role play. And Brannon asked the first question, and Jake, you look like a deer in the headlights, man. You're just like, oh, what do I do? Like,
Oh, this is getting real now. We're not talking
it's
to
like,
Tyree. Like,
oh no.
dang.
Oh
Yeah.
no, but I think that's the practice. And so there's a couple of things. I know we're at time. We're going to have to end here soon, but a couple of places where this pattern will sometimes spill itself into the wrong direction. One is if you get caught in just answering the yes or no questions without actually acknowledging that there's feeling there, that she's having an experience, that you're going to get stuck fueling the same wrong pattern. So where Brandon's going with you is, yeah, that must have been, if I was in your shoes, I can see why you'd feel that way. 100%. I can see how hard this is for you. And I'm here to hear about it. We can talk about it. Listen to the strength you're offering there versus, did you notice? Yes, I noticed her. Did you like that she was flirting with you? Yes, I liked it.
Yeah.
Like, like, it's like, okay, you're being honest, but are you being, in Brannon's question, are you actually being honest in terms of congruent with the person you want to be with your wife? Remember, you're breaking the belief that my value isn't hinged on her feelings. So one of the ways to break that belief is I'm going to be interested in her feelings instead of in preserving myself. So I can do that.
Here's another thing to what Tyler just said is really important. You should go back and listen to that. If your focus is on her feelings and not on your okayness, that's a big deal. The other thing, like in the role play, I was trying to like really get into it. I was getting to this kind of shut down place of like, you're the last person I want to talk to.
Yeah.
You just hurt me. So yeah, I'm not going to process my feelings with you. And what I want you to know, Jake, is it's okay if she gets flooded emotionally and she shuts down, for your anxious attachment and your anxiety to say, it's okay if you need to take some time. I'd be happy to talk about this with you later, at a better time. And now it's excruciating when you're feeling like, oh my gosh, she's thinking I'm the world's worst, for her to go off and do whatever she needs to do. Now, hopefully she's doing her own therapy and her own self-care and all the good stuff, but she might not be. But your strength, you need to be strong enough to let her walk in those moments. So you don't have to say, no. Like, I want to fix it now. It's got to be done now. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I'm okay. I'm here for you. I'm happy to talk about this with you. If you need some time,
I'll still be here.
that's okay too.
Yeah.
And we got to drive home from the bank right now, and I'm fine sitting in silence if we need to. But I'm here for you. Right.
Yeah.
So, wow, we talked about a lot today, Jake. Thank you for coming on.
Thank you guys.
How are you feeling today, Jake? I know we're gonna wrap up here, but how are you? What's your current state of emotion right now?
I feel a lot better. I feel I was super nervous to come on, and so even though I know you, Tyler, and I was excited to get a talk with Brannon, but like I feel calm. I feel better. Like I have some tools, some things to think about to try and to practice. You know, that whole opportunities and the competence and making confidence and that whole cycle. And so
I'm really excited you're coming to Rising Sun, because we have, well, I shouldn't say we, because it's not me and Tyler, it's God, but we have an opportunity to open up some space for you, for God to come in and heal the deeper wounds. And I think it's perfect for you in the next couple of months in September. So I'm glad you signed up, Jake. I look forward to meeting you there. And don't expect me to remember your name, though. I don't remember any names. So
You'll go up to him like you know him, Jake, and he'll turn to me and be like, "How do I know that guy?"
I know, I'm sure you get that all the time. Like, everybody feels it's because we feel like we know you because we listen to you so much.
Right.
So, well, Jake, thank you for coming on. Your question is a gift to a lot of people. There's definitely going to lead to some feelings and in discussion about what we've talked about today. And Brannon and I welcome any kind of feedback on that or other questions. So, thank you to you, Jake. Thank you to our listeners, and you guys. You have an awesome day.
Yeah.
You
See you
too.
guys.
Thanks so much.